Well, God bless and hello. So yesterday I made a video, gave my testimony, and then I said that every day I would do a little video to do I don't know, a daily check-in, a video journal, if you will. Now, I was asked what it is that I feel like every day. Well, for the last 3 years, I felt like I've had the worst sinus infection and flu all mixed up in one. My head is so plugged up. My sinuses throb right between the eyes. It's hard to deal with. Anyone that's ever had sinus infections, you know what I'm talking about. It's terrible. You get all this free time to read, but you can't read. Yeah. However, you can listen to a lot of Bible stories, sermons. You can do some studying. Now, I was also asked what other things do I do. Well, diet and exercise, I'm convinced, are going to win the day. However, you got to be able to get out of that bed to do the diet and exercise. Well, at least the exercise. So I've been juicing, which, get your vitamins from food, right? That's great. But boy, is that messy and a little time consuming. But I'm homeless in a hotel, so what am I going to do? Today I go see a doctor. I'm gonna see a specialist in ENT. I'm working with the long COVID doctor in Miami, an ENT specialist today, and an allergist. And really, we don't have any answers. But I will say this though: there was 4 different types of mold in my condo. One was toxic, and on a scale of 1 to 10 for being allergic, I'm a 10 for all the mold. So detoxing from this toxic mold is going to take a little bit of time. So it's been 6 weeks, but today's day 2 out of bed. So anytime I'm out of bed, that is a victory within itself. So I do continue to study. I love God's word. Can't get enough, like a sponge. But you can have all the head knowledge in the world you want. But I promise you, if you don't apply it, it means nothing, And I must say that I've been disappointed with God, for sure. He had me go back to school in my late 40s. I went back, got my master's degree. And I might be the most dyslexic person I've ever met. But modern technology has definitely stepped up. And by the way, AI was not available when I was in school. That's a new thing. And if you're using AI, you're really cheating yourself out of good study. Anyway, one of the things I really like to do is, you know what? Get your cards, I was doing my daily reading today, and I've been reading 5 Psalms and 1 proverb every day. And I'm telling you, you want to change your life? Read the Psalms. And you'll see where David goes back and forth with God continually. I mean, he battles. But today, I read Psalms 126:5. And it reads, "Those who plant in tears will harvest shouts of joy." I mean, that just hit me right between the eyes. I'm in the valley, and I'm definitely sowing seeds with tears. And then verse 6 says, they'll weep as they go to plant their seed, but they'll sing as they return the harvest. I mean, right now, you can't see it. It's hard to see it, I'm going to make it through this, but it sucks right now. It does. But flashcards, I'm telling you, man, get your flashcards and get you some foundational Bible verses. You need concrete Bible verses. Like when Jesus told Peter, "Man, you're the rock which I'm going to build my church." That's a solid rock foundation. That's the foundation I'm talking about. So get you some good foundational scriptures. Write them down, memorize them. When they say meditate on the word, that's what they're talking about. Read the word over and over and over again. Now, I also wrote a little mantra. Even in this season, I'm not alone. God is my strength and joy is coming. Now, I've wrote that on my dry erase board on my fridge. I carry these cards in my pocket and I constantly read them, you know? It's hard to stay motivated, and that's the key right there. You got to stay motivated within yourself. You got to encourage yourself in the Lord. Now, we are humans. You know, we have feelings. We're made in God's image, for goodness sakes, right? But you got to take your feelings out of the equation. Your feelings will betray you. And I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like reading. I don't feel like journaling. I don't feel like studying, but I do anyway. But I'm always glad I do. I've never not read or studied and said, oh, I didn't like doing that. No, I actually love doing that. But for me, my foundational scriptures, well, the first one I start with is Philippians 4:13. And as Dr. Vincent Neal said, the guy that wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale, said the most powerful verse in the Bible is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, I wholeheartedly agree with that. So when we look at the Bible's not a sword. The Bible's an armory. It's a place where it holds weapons. So when you reach for a weapon, why not reach for the baddest tool in the toolbox? Now, if you're like me, you have a hard time memorizing scripture. I know, right? People just automatically think that pastors have all that stuff memorized. No, we're human, we're people. And some of us are dyslexic people. However, you got 10 fingers, hopefully. If not, count a toe. But I've taught this for years, and maybe this helps somebody. But it certainly helps me, and this is something I put into practice, and I wholeheartedly believe in. You know, what have you heard your whole life? Have you been stressed or upset? You know, take a deep breath, calm down, count to 10. Well, Christian, how about we count to 10 using Philippians 4:13? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You just counted to 10. You just invited the master of the universe to stand next to you. And by the way, God doesn't stand in front of you or behind you. He stands next to you. You know, just like those 3 cats that were thrown in the fire, Meshach, Ishach, and Abednego, right? Or as I like to say, 2 shacks in a bungalow, or under the bed I go. God didn't save them from the fire. He was with them in the fire. So I'm literally not in a fire, but metaphorically, yeah, for sure. But he's here with me. Now, I can't feel him, but I do get senses of his presence every once in a while. And I'm telling you, if you want to feel God's presence, whatever situation you're going through, do it through worship. Worship is so much more important than you could ever imagine. Worship through it. That's just the bottom line. There's a lot of great songs. I forget the young lady's name, but she has a song, I'm going to worship through it. And I'm telling you, that's just, that's a battle cry. Worship is warfare. That's how you fight your battles. You fight your battles on your knees with your hands lifted high in worship and praise. Now, Philippians 4:13, that is absolutely a bedrock foundational one. The one I've been gravitating toward lately is, well, not lately, but more and more, is Joshua 1:9. And here, God is commanding you. He's not telling you. He's not asking you. This is not even a suggestion. It's a command. It's like, look, man, I command you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For I, the Lord, will be with you wherever you go. Wherever you go, he's already there. He's with you. You know? Be strong. Haven't I commanded you to be strong? Don't be afraid. Don't be a chicken. You know? And of course, being this sick. And by the way, this is the second day I've been out of bed. So anytime I'm out of bed, that, my friend, is a victory within itself. I'm liking it. However, talk about relying on God's strength and not your strength, because I can't clearly do it. There's no way. So I have to rely on God's strength. Just like the Apostle Paul, when he had that thorn in his side, he prayed 3 times, Lord, take this away. I'm pretty sure it was a kidney stone. But, you know, Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 12:9, Jesus is like, hey man, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. And then Paul's like, well, I'll boast all the more greatly about my weakness, so Christ's power may rest on me. That's a hard concept to understand as well. But 2 Corinthians 12:9, he said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I'll boast all the more greatly about my weakness, so Christ's power may rest upon me. And when you think about a lot of these things that Paul wrote, this cat wrote these things when he was in prison. Like the letter of Philippians. Oh, that's the joyful letter. That guy was chained up in a prison. Be content wherever you're at. So that's another lesson for myself. I'm in a hotel, homeless, but all my needs are being taken care of. I have to be honest with you. It's not a bad setup. I got a little kitchenette, so I can cook, I can juice, I can eat healthy. That's about to go away in a couple weeks, though. We'll see what God has for me. But as a veteran, you would think there's a ton of veteran programs out there, but there isn't. So anyway, 2 Corinthians 12:9, that, relying on God's power, that's another bedrock foundational one. And for me, this one's been coming up like for the last 2 weeks, just like a drum beating. It's like sometimes God hits you over the head. It's like, pay attention to my word, dummy. Isaiah 41:10, do not fear. God says do not fear over 365 times in the Bible. Well, not over 365 times, but 365 times. Fear not. Man. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. And that word dismayed is the Hebrew or the Greek. No, the Hebrew word denotes a very powerful word. Don't be rattled about anything. Don't be dismayed. There might be fires burning all around you. Don't pay attention to it. Keep your eyes on God. Don't be dismayed, for I'm your God. I will strengthen you, and I will uphold you with my might, my righteous right hand. So again, Isaiah 41:10, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I'm your God. I will strengthen you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Another bedrock foundational one. And this one I like, 2 Timothy 1:7, for God did not give us the spirit of fear, but the power of love and self-discipline, or some people say sound mind. Either or works for me. And then of course, in the words of Jesus out of Mark 5:36, in the context of this scripture, Jesus goes to Jairus' house and his daughter has died. And there's mourners out and there's a whole scene. And the dad's like, oh my God, my little girl's dead. He's freaking out. And Jesus looks him dead in the eye. He's like, fear not, just believe. That's a foundational one as well. I really like that, And then of course, I wrote this flashcard when I was a baby Christian, probably like 20 years ago. I've only been a Christian 20 years, so. Anyway, it's Romans 12:12. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. So simple, so profound. Easier said than done, though. Let's just make that straight, And then, of course, try not to live in the world, right? The world's evil. Man didn't, God didn't do this to me. Man did. COVID, that was from man. All these diseases from man. Now, God's allowing it, but imagine he's refining me pretty much, pretty much down to nothing. I mean, I'm pure gold, by the way. But Romans 12:2, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Don't conform to this world. you don't belong to this world. This is training for the next world. Okay? So that's a good one there. But another foundational one, which I enjoy, is 1 Peter 5:7. Cast all your anxiety onto him because he cares for you. Again, another simple scripture verse. But you can know all these, but if you don't apply them, they mean nothing. Apply them, you know? And, talk about not conforming to the pattern of this world. We're bombarded by junk all day long. Commercials, radio ads, negative talk, you know what I mean? And listen, people can say bad things about you, but you must never say bad things about yourself. Always put in more positive than negative. Get your cards, okay? And of course, every day when we get up, we dress for battle. So, Ephesians 6:10, finally be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on your armor. Now, when I put on my armor in the morning, I have a couple visuals that I like. I like to, picture myself as a white knight with a beautiful horse and a shiny armor and a sword. Sometimes I like to dress as a Knights Templar or a modern day Marine with a M16 with a big old Knights Templar cross across the chest. Whatever your image is, put your armor on. Because let's be honest, you're in a battle. Like that Disney movie, Pirates of the Caribbean. He tells the girl, you might want to start believing in fairy tales because you're in one. Well, you might want to start believing in a battlefield because you're on one. Just think about that. When you wake up, you got to get dressed for battle. You're in a war. There's just no way there's no way around it. You're in a war. Either you can fight or you can just move aside. Don't move aside though. Get in the fight. And this is how you do it. Now, one thing I also love too is, I wouldn't say this is foundational, but this is just the moral compass. Everyone talks about John 3:16, right? Everyone knows that. You see that at football games. Yay. But 1 John 3:18 says this, dear children, let us not love with words or tongue, but with actions and truth. Now, actions and truth. We all know actions speak louder than words. Now, I can talk a big game, and I'm a pretty smooth talker sometimes. However, I'm not asking you to listen to my words. I'm asking you to watch my actions. They'll speak for me. It's like a lion. You don't need to defend a lion. You just need to let him loose. He'll defend himself. So, again, Psalms 126:5. Those who paint in tears will harvest shouts of joy. I'll be honest with you, this has been 6 years. 6 painful long years, man. And, I have bad days. Everyone has bad days, but laying in bed, white knuckling it, is definitely difficult. And that's when the battlefield of the mind comes into play. I mean, you're in a battlefield in your mind, you're a battlefield physically. But this will help you with those bad thoughts. I don't know, many of you, I'm sure, do the same thing I do. If I'm laying in bed all day, I've got too much time to think. And all I think about is every little mistake I've ever made. And lately, I was thinking, I moved to St. Petersburg here, Florida, 10 years ago, after a horrible divorce. Adultery, it's terrible. But I started working with the homeless. And as I was going to school, I might have been a little too arrogant, but I would always tell people, that we're homeless, which I'm homeless right now. How ironic, right? But I would always tell them, no matter what you're going through, trust in the Lord. And by the way, talking about foundational, Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Not just a little, not a little bit, with all your heart, with everything you got. So, trust in the Lord, fear not. These are foundational things, God's commanded you to be strong. And again, look it up. Fear not is in the Bible 365 times. One for each day. I mean, we can make bumper stickers out of these little logo sayings, right? But how I'm doing my battle, this is how I'm doing my battle. And it's foundational. And I don't care where you're at. I put these in my pocket. If I'm waiting for the doctor's appointment, I'm flipping through them, you know? Listen to worship music. Worship, worship is warfare, is how you're gonna win the battle. Now, I'm gonna try my best to do these little videos, and perhaps it helps somebody, but I think it's helping me. And it's high time, you know? Later today, I'm gonna do the devotional. Today will be day one. And actually on day one, we'll be starting with Proverbs 3:5. So if you wanna look into that later today, I'll be posting the devotional, and then I'll talk about it and we'll teach it through a little bit. Well, I don't really wanna teach it. What I wanna do is I wanna go through it, and you can come with, right? But I'm not wanting to teach it, you know? The author of this devotional seems like he's got it pretty good. You know, it's a good devotional. I like it. Now, it's going to be a lot of hard work. Don't get me wrong, okay? This isn't some joyful 15-minute devotional. This is work. Now, you're only going to get out of it what you put into it, okay, Christian? No slackers. Now, if you want great results, if you want that transformed heart, you got to put the work in. You know, I see these memes all the time on Facebook. There's a lady drowning, and there's a lady on the dock. What does she do? She drops to her knees, she starts praying. Man, that is so wrong. You gotta go put the work in, okay? So when I come back on, we do this devotional. There's gonna be journaling. And I hear a lot of guys say, well, I don't journal because I'm not a woman. What kind of junk is that? It's crazy talk. Listen, if you wanna see proof of God talking to you in your life, you wanna see answered prayers, keep a journal. When I have my darkest moments, I go back to my journals over the years, and I look at all the answered prayers. I looked at all the times that God spoke to me, and I realized He is there, regardless of my feelings. Take your feelings out of the equation, you know? That's why men are much better leaders than when it comes to emotions. We don't make decisions emotionally as women do. It's not a knock on women, though. I always say, if you have women in your life, always speak to them. Women have the calling of discernment on their lives. So if you got women in your life and you're stuck with a question that you need answered, counsel with them. Get information from them. Christian women are strong, biblically women. I mean, women have discernment. Tap into it. So I don't know. With that, I'm headed to the hospital. Hopefully, I get a good report. Just looking for a game plan. I mean, my days are miserable. I wake up, I'm so plugged up. I'm getting like migraines. I've never had those before. And I do feel for people who get migraines. I mean, wow. But big question of the day. What do you think God is really trying to teach me? And, you know, I've been thinking about that hard, and I've got all kinds of crazy answers, you know. Well, maybe not crazy answers, but good answers. But one foundational truth keeps coming up. You know, when I used to talk to people on the streets, the homeless people, the first responders, you know, I'd counsel them. And I would always tell them to trust God. And then God sets me aside and lets me go through all this. And He's like, how can you tell other people to fully trust me if you haven't trusted me yourself? Yeah. So I think the lesson I'm learning is to fully trust God. Because let's be honest, in my current situation, I am homeless in a hotel, and I'm physically unable to work. I mean, I am so sick, I can't work. And that's been the number one tool I've always relied on, just like a lot of men. You know, you got your strength, you got your health, you go out there, you get a job, you make money, and you survive, no problem. But what happens when God takes away that health and you can't rely on the number one tool in your toolbox? Well, I find myself 100% completely relying on God. And I'm strangely okay with it. I really am. Now, listen, I'm not saying that I don't have bad days. I do have bad days. And when I get upset, I throw a big boy fit. I tell God exactly what's on my mind, but always be honest, you know? But any words of wisdom today? Stay encouraged. Find people to walk with, you know? Find other lions to walk with. I'm having a really hard time with that, to be honest with you. The longer you're sick, the less friends you'll have. I think God will strip away a lot of people so you're just reliant on Him totally. But I'm telling you, like that paralytic man that his friends cut a hole in the roof, lowered him down to get to Jesus. Get you some friends like that. People have been healed from the faith of their friends. That's who you have in your circle is important. Get some good Christian friends around you. Now, if you don't have good Christian friends around you, well, stay grounded in the Word. Stay grounded in the Word. Stay in worship. Worship is warfare. All right. Well, hey, thank you for stopping by. I love you, and God bless.